we were talking about dating, so we'll go back to kind of our original kind of conversation plan, and we were talking about pronunciation and the importance. This maybe feeds into what I was wanting to talk about with kids. And a lot of kids, teenage kids, young kids, don't have confidence. They're hormonal. They are having difficulties making friends. And some of that might be because of their voice and their ability to project, or some of that might be. And to what extent do you think that sort of stage training and vocal training will help to increase a child's confidence and to increase a child's sociability and help them to make friends and help them to kind of fit in and help? I'm aiming towards kind of a little bit about bullying and a little bit about kind of just increasing a child's confidence that people are interested in.
It is, and I had, in a conversation we had earlier on, I'd mentioned how a lot of adult students coming in have had someone make fun of their voice or say something nasty about their voice when they're a teenager. And we all know that teenagers listening to this will know that this is true. At that point in your life, you are particularly aware of other people's perception of you, and you have that need to belong. And so anything that marks you out as being a bit different, or that other people pick on, you feel really maybe embarrassed about, or just very self-conscious about. And quite often you'll have people coming back and say their 40s or 50s who say, I wish I hadn't let that get to me quite so much. Someone made a remark that completely caused them to stop singing. And usually the people that make these remarks don't have any qualifications or background in voice, and so they're not actually qualified to make the remarks. But I had one situation where I dealt with a teenager who had been, she's a brilliant singer, but she was the subject of some unpleasant and ill-informed remarks on a Facebook group from her peers. And I said, when I was working with this girl, does the opinion of this boy at the age of 17 matter more than my opinion, who've studied vocal pedagogy and worked with singers for about 20 years? But the thing is, it does, because he's her peer and I'm not. And
Yes.
the things that your peers say hit home. So I am having to fight against the perception of herself that this person has foisted on her at an impressionable age. So if I say to her, what I'm hearing when you sing is actually very pleasant and very listenable too, there's technique that you can learn, that's understandable, but you're not making a noise that people won't like. She doesn't care about my perception as much as the perception of her peers. And then it's trying to get in and boost the kids' confidence before somebody comes along and makes the remark, because when people will be nasty to you and when you'll get nasty remarks when you're good. Because when you're good, you make other people feel threatened, so they know they're not as good as you. They hear a video you put on Instagram and they think, I couldn't do that. That's what they really think in the back of their head. But they post some nasty remarks in their keyboard warrior way because they're threatened by the fact that you can do something that they can't, and that a real professional and someone who is really dedicated to music. Like, I think of my friend and former housemate Dom, who is the best musician I know and the best vocalist I know. When he hears somebody do something really well, what he asks himself is what is making that sound so good? What is making that work? And can I learn to do that? So he learns from people who are good rather than feeling, threatened or intimidated by them. And that is what has made him, like, he's a virtuoso. He's a master musician because of his attitude.
What I'm interested in is a lot of people, you were sort of saying earlier on about kind of people think that singing and speaking are just natural things and that you can't improve them. And that what I want to kind of press into people is that you can take agency over these things and that you can improve these things and that you can work on these things, and it is important to work on these, not necessarily for everybody, but for some people, or for most people, taking the time to work on these core and important things will improve the quality of your life. Yeah. A lot of kids today go on Instagram, as you say, and a lot of kids today have that online presence, and a lot of kids today do their videos, etc. Media is a lot more ubiquitous today than it was in our era. Yes. That means that stage coaching, stage training is probably more important for young teenagers today than it probably was in our era.
Possibly, in a way, because I'm actually very grateful, and I quite literally thank God that when I was 14 or 15, Facebook didn't exist, because it's a whole other level. Well, they're not even on Facebook. I think Instagram is more the young person's platform, TikTok. But the pressure that it puts on them to look a certain way as well as to sound a certain way is immense. But having vocal training will help you with, you know, if you want to post videos to Instagram, which a lot of people do, if you want to perform live online, having a little bit of training is a good idea. People believe, you know, we talked earlier on how people believe you're just naturally born able to sing or you're not. Now, you're naturally born with musicality, with a sense of pitch. If people don't have a sense of pitch, it can be taught, but it's very, very painstaking. But, you know, there's certain things about your voice that you can change. Like, I once had real tightness in my voice. That's very common in women, in what they call the break in the passaggio between E and F. Quite often, when the voice sort of changes gear, it tightens. And the problem is that if you don't address that, the voice starts to tighten the whole way down. And I had a very constricted voice, and I went to a classical teacher for about 2 years about it, and she kept saying, your voice is very far back. There's a whale of a voice in there, but it's very far back. And I didn't understand what she meant by very far back. I thought it meant my voice was down here somewhere and it should be out here. I didn't understand how to move it from here to here. Then I went to Scotland for 1 week to a course taught by Hammond, who is the best vocal coach who ever lived, and Farrington, who is also the co-best vocal coach who ever lived, and is of course still living. They both are, but they are interested in a thing called Estel Voice, which is based on the anatomy of voice, how your voice physically works. So I learned that this problem that I have been working on for 2 years could be sorted by going like this, because it was just about loosening the muscle. And when you want to loosen a muscle, you tighten it first. So if I lift my shoulders and then I drop them, and I lift my shoulders and then I drop them, I've relaxed my shoulders. If I tighten my voice and then I loosen it, I've relaxed my voice. And then if I do that with my eyes closed, I can feel the big space that opens up. And if I maintain that sense of open space when I sing, I am singing with what's called retraction and open space, not constriction. And the reason that I couldn't get rid of the constriction was I didn't know what it was meant to feel like until somebody showed me what it was meant to feel like. And when I knew what I should be doing, I could do it. So a problem that I'd been wrestling with for 2 years, sorted, I wouldn't say overnight, but actually in a very short period of time. Now, I don't want people to think that they come along to one singing lesson and that I basically show them one magic exercise and all of a sudden they're Freddie Mercury. There's a little bit more to it than that. But some things that you're maybe really struggling with could actually possibly be sorted really easily if you just get the right advice.